I'm gonna get started. All right, so we are back. Living Hip Hop, conversations about hip hop education. We are talking with participants and organizers of the annual Trinity International Hip Hop Festival. Just finished up our 15th International Hip Hop Festival, and we are talking with Poptart, Machinegun Poptart, the community partner and organizer of the Trinity Till Infinity Dance Battle and Showcase. Poptart is a member of the United Outcast crew in the Universal Zulu Nation 860. He is a 20-year professional competitive dancer, dance instructor, and graffiti muralist. He calls Hartford his home and represents CT hip-hop all over the world through his dance and art. And he has been the event coordinator of the Trinity Till Infinity Dance Showcase for the past 4 years. But he has been part of the Trinity National Hip Hop Festival going back before that, all the way back to the very beginning. So we have another very beginnings person. Y'all are just have more history on me right now. You know what I mean? I realize that there's so many other people in the festival with so much more history. But here we are. Poptart, what up, bro?
What's going on, guys?
Yeah.
How you doing?
All right. We finally got him. The most elusive character to track down for an interview. Telling you.
Oh, yeah. I'm all over the place.
So what's up, man? We got to talk about, man. But can you just... for me, what we're doing here and documenting, talking with organizers and this was an interesting festival. This was a virtual festival for an event that essentially is, you got to really experience it live, right? But virtual. Talk about the opportunities this presented as well as the challenges.
Oh, beautiful. Well, for one, the opportunities that this brings up is it allows us to reach out to people who don't have a chance to come to our festival, even though, the international festival is international and we do have a lot of people that come in from other areas. This allowed them to be a part of it from anywhere in the world, pretty much. And if you weren't having that type of access to fly over here. Now, of course, the biggest challenge is because you're at home and doing all this stuff or wherever you are, comes down to internet service and all that other good stuff. And just timing, really, too. I could say that much. Timing was one big thing for a lot of people. Different time zones, which I completely forgot about doing stuff, rushing people to do stuff. And I'm like, yo, you got to get this done now. And they're like, I am sleeping right now. And I'm like, you mean you're sleeping? Stuff like that. So, but I mean, truthfully, the challenging part about that was just basically just trying to stay on top of it. That was mainly it. Like, I was almost a little bit like overshooting myself on it because it was like, because I had the chance to reach out to so many people to do it, it was like, now once I did that, it's like, now I have to make sure they all come through on their part of it, which means like you have a lot more people to have to pretty much organize and that I don't get a chance to see. Like, for us having it hands-on, it's like even semi-hands-on here, it's like I can at least call the people around here or send them certain things. It's like if I have, like I said, once again, with different area codes and time exchange and stuff, like I have to leave a message for someone that I may not get an answer for 2 days for a problem that I'm working on right there at that moment. So a little challenging, but still awesome learning experience for me. I love it.
The time zone thing is real,
Oh, yeah.
No question about it. But Poptart, imagine if this was live and you had to like coordinate that. Like this was just pre-recorded, right? Imagine if this was like a live. We're going live. I can't even.
That's my next one to try. I actually want to try a full live one. Don't know if I have the right stress level for that.
Right. But so that's a little bit behind the scenes. And my other question is, can you just give us a little breakdown for the audience of what who was featured at the for the dance showcase? Like how was it?
Beautiful.
How was it presented and all that? Yeah.
So the way I went about it this year was we wanted to do an online dance battle. Like how we've had for all the people in the dance community who don't know and people who are not part of the dance community. Since the whole quarantine and COVID thing, a lot of the bigger battles that a lot of us dancers look forward to every year were made to be online. But what that means is they were all like open category kind of thing or open, what is it called? Open format. So anyone can enter, but it takes a lot of time to wean through it. So picture yourself going to a competition and you have pretty much like your prelims. You have to qualify for the battles. So when that comes down to doing online battling, there's so much extra stuff that comes in ahead of time for online battling that you have to wean through. So for like a normal battle, you may have like 400 people that show up to a battle to get to like your top 32. For an online battle, I might end up with 1,000 people to try to get the top 32. You know what I'm saying? And that's just doing it ahead of time. But when you have the actual live battles, then it's like you should already know who your competitors are, who's going to be in it. So it's like everything has to be almost be done ahead of time, like hurry up and rush kind of thing to get ready for the actual day when you want them all pretty much battle it out. So for our battle here, I wanted to really do that. And I knew we didn't have the timing for it, let alone all the dancers I wanted to be a part of it. It was just, we do such a big category. I know the breaking category is incredible. And then we also have our all-styles category. So I was like, this will be impossible to try to wean through all these prelims to get everyone in here. So what I thought of was to do a showcase showing a little bit of the history of some of the crews that have always, if not one, been a part of our battles and just been part of the festival or our scene at least. So I decided to invite, of course, some of our past winners, which were All Styles team. I believe you guys know them as Team Problems. They were one of our winners from, I believe, 2 years ago. We had who else would we have in there? That was another. We had the Obsessions crew. They won our first online battle before our online hip hop battle. I had the second runner-ups from I believe 3 years ago, which is Lokito's team. With I guess they entered as Mask Off. That's what it was. Right before the COVID stuff happened. It's kind of funny. So it's mainly just for me trying to highlight and pick like the right teams and the right people, pretty much, just to showcase the way we do our festival and our battles here. So we lucked out to have some really, really good competitors in it, and all the teams that are in it are like literally nostalgic teams from this area. If not nostalgic, they're people who have been in our scene for years. So like it was an honor for me to have them to be able to showcase and show how we pretty much get down in New England, you know?
Yeah. Kaim, you got any questions? I got more. I just want to make sure that you're in the cipher.
Yeah, speaking of the cipher, that's my question. I was teaching a class the other day, and some of the students were actually at the college campus. This is UHart. Some of them are in the college campus. Some of them are like remote, right? And I'm looking at them, and when we're doing our activities, I was literally like, we are right now, right? We're all. Not only are we equidistant, we're like two-dimensionally in the same distance exactly. And I was thinking about what we try to create in a cipher. Yeah, like I always, me, I always give explanations, and I'm like, what does the cipher represent? Like, and they're like, everyone's the same. I'm like, no, you could be completely different, but we're in a structure where we're all the same distance regardless. You see everyone sees you. Regardless how tall, short, color, you know what I mean? And so you see people's differences clearly. And I was just thinking like how inappropriate it is for professors usually to be equidistant from students and students to be equidistant from the professor and everyone in class and for everybody to be that, right? So in some ways, this cipher thing, right? When you go beyond just winning battles as a b-boy or MC and getting known, you go into like, what is this about? Like, what's the deeper philosophy and other ways to express it? Like, I feel like in some ways, this virtual thing is meeting some of the principles we're trying to get across. So talk about that, both in the pros and cons. What part of it? I think the producers were the only people I literally saw in a circular cipher, and they're never in a cipher, right? And the B-boys, the MCs, we were all like completely not in cipher. So what part of that was good in terms of like bringing people equidistant and close, and what part of that was problematic where you don't have just random people who hear music from a block away being able to jump in a cipher and B-boys and B-girls being able to feel that circular energy?
You mean as in like online versus like physically cipher?
Yeah. Like in which ways did you still meet the energy of the cipher that circle creates? But in which ways was it like completely impossible and missed?
Okay. So I feel like for the way I put together the battle, because even though everyone wanted it to be a battle, I thought of it in the aspect of a cipher or a showcase. But to the people watching, they would assume it's a battle because they would assume everyone's competing for something. But in reality, all these guys know who they're competing against ahead of time. So it made it like they were already in their comfort zone, as if like being in a cipher. When you come to a battle or anything like that, 9 out of 10 times you know who's going to be there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it kind of puts you in your own comfort zone when it comes to a cipher to prepare yourself for what you're going to do in the battle, or just as almost like a calm down for once you're done battling. You have that aspect of being around these same these same people who kind of like influence you to do. It's almost like they influence you to show off your talent or like your skill. At the same time, it's almost like a flex for, like, if you don't do it, then you don't feel it kind of thing. So with the online battle, that's what I was kind of aiming for. Like, I didn't want to do a whole battle thing because it's like it truthfully takes away from the battle hunger. When it comes down to like battling, even in the cypher, it's like if I can't physically feel the energy behind it, it takes it completely away. Like, it's just like I'm watching something that I can't understand, or I'm just putting my own thought process on top of what I hope that person is trying to show me. So for this, it was like, that's why I picked certain people that I already knew would be able to, like, work together in this, regardless of their teams or not. It was kind of like I wanted them to all know each other was in it. So like the showcase of it was kind of like a cypher. They all knew they had the same songs and stuff like that. So it's like they got a chance just to pretty much showcase as much as you can, which is pretty much what you were doing in the cypher. You get to showcase, and the more comfortable you are means the more better you can control the cypher. And I guess the more better you control the cypher, I guess kind of steers your opponents or people around you to step that level up also.
Yeah, so it's interesting that. Oh, sorry, man. Sorry. No, continue. That was you, man. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
I completely forgot.
I'm sorry. I totally ruined that. But it still continued this conversation. With my comment, it's like, when you're thinking about the cipher and the in-person cipher, and then that being taken away in the virtual and being put in the virtual space, particularly when you're talking about music. So on the one hand, they know the music beforehand. In the in-person cipher, part of what we're seeing as an audience and judges is how do you respond to this music coming out of nowhere? You got to change. You know what I mean? You don't know what music's coming. That's one of the key elements of battling in the dance context, right? So that's taken away in a lot of ways where they don't have that spot. Oh, I got to respond to this one's much slower, or this one is, I got to be doing, this one is for about power moves or whatever. Like, what was it like for them to, did you feel like it was it's like a necessary casualty of virtual?
Yeah.
That is what it is. Yeah.
Definitely I felt that way about it, because it's like the aspect of, for us, for battling and even ciphering, the fact of not knowing what track is being played but having a musical library is what you're looking for. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like it's like you're going to war with all your equipment. You know what I'm saying? You have all your bullets, everything you need with you. That's what online battling would be. But in a real cipher, it's like you have everything with you and you're just waiting to see how you can use it. So for the online fact of them knowing the music ahead of time, it's like you're kind of like, you don't have, it takes away from that pressure of like, I got to bring all this with me to be ready for this. It's like, it's almost like your character and your ego. So you just come there already comfortable knowing what you have to do just to pretty much execute, rather than like, feel the vibe of the situation and then execute. You're coming there already with the thought process of, I know what I'm getting myself into. Here we go. So online battling gives you that. I would say online battling gives you that aspect to be prepared ahead of time for a battle. When
it sounds almost like it becomes
of not knowing what you're going to get yourself into.
My bad, but I'm just realizing you're saying it almost sounds like it becomes not completely. It's less proportion. Like every battle, like you're saying, the point of it is to have a resolution in a cipher. But if there's animosity and anger that you feel in that day, it's a way to transmute that in the cipher, so it becomes like this battle, as opposed to us actually hurting each other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But when you're coming with all you have, right? We all know the greatest, and tell me if I'm way off, but in my opinion, I think a lot of us would say the greatest battle moments are when someone does something and the other dude goes, "Oh, all right, I see that." Boom, bam, and they take what that person does and respond to it in the moment in a way that people don't expect, and also that like you couldn't have planned that in advance. And it's like, oh, we're here in this moment, and it just electric. There's something about it reminding people the value of the present
moment. Yes, exactly.
It sounds like that element isn't as much possible with online, right?
It is. It's the element of surprise and the element of the wow factor you get from the unknowing is what's lost. Because like you said, you can be the most prepared, illest dancer in the world. Like I said, if you think of a person like going to battles, like I can show up with all the equipment I need, but because I know what I'm getting myself into, it takes away from the hunger of me being that type of person. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I'm a warrior showing up with all my stuff already, that doesn't really make me a warrior. I'm just prepared for battle. You know what I'm saying? Rather than me showing up and then fangs out, something's happening, now I have to adapt right then, which is what the cipher and real battling is. So what the online thing is, like, I didn't want them to have to kind of be like that weird. It's like we're all friends, but I didn't want them to know ahead of time that they had to like be kind of like, oh, we're battling later on. Like, I'm gonna be an asshole.
You can just imagine the stories, right? Like, I didn't know he was gonna do this, but he saw my thing ahead of time. You know, like
we've seen you do that. We knew you were gonna do that. It's like I wanted them to be like, all right, we kind of know who's in it. Let's just all just have fun and go at it. So hopefully our next one, I can do like a real live one where they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
I think you handled that really well. And for people who don't understand, that's what goes into it. Like those are the challenges, and I think you handled them very deliberately.
They don't all know this, but I was hiding the fact of who they were all battling against each other like the whole time. They all kept asking me like, "Wait, who else is in it?" I'm like, "You'll find out. You'll find out. Handle your stuff. You'll find out."
It's really hard to do.
Yeah, it really is. You know, and continue on with this line of the organizing it. You know, one of the things about the hip hop festival is that the Trinity chapter of the Temple of Hip Hop, the student organizing body, which is primarily responsible for organizing the festival as far as like, you know, taking care of a lot of things, the fundraising and the planning, but they all work with community partners. Yeah, so they all work with community partners. Your community partner is a brother named Ray.
Man, Ray.
Man, Ray. So can you talk about what it's like, you know, because in your situation, right? And even before you with Camacho running the B-boy battle, it was really just, we didn't really like, a student wasn't really like hands-on.
Yeah,
it was more of like a student who was just like, I can assist and stuff. But what we're seeing Temple kind of transform in a way where they want to be more hands-on. At the same time, too, you're this critical person who knows all of these people in the B-boy world, right? The B-boy, B-girl world too. So it's like they can't really organize without you because you're the connector to all this. What was it like working with a student? What has it been like working with a student? What have been some of the challenges working with student organizers? What have been some of the things that you like being able to work with, like with Ray and student organizers on this?
Oh, okay. Well, first off, shout out to Ray. That's my man right there. Big shout out to him for helping out with all the stuff. I would say I think it's an awesome thing having our community partner, our non-community partner with our students in it. The one thing I like about it is like them taking more reins of trying to, you know, help with the organization. What it also does for them too is they can go back to their areas once they're done and kind of do the same thing for their community. So they've learned from someone doing it in their community how to adapt it to their area, which is awesome, beautiful by the way.
Right, because all these most Temple kids are from Chicago, New York, Houston. They're not from Hartford really. So they come back to their places and they start to implement. That's a really, really good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that was my main look on it. And I get that exposure of understanding things that they've seen from my same culture in their area. So like for him already knowing about breaking stuff, then I got to learn parts of what he knows about breaking from his area. So it's like we, you know, kind of mashed it together. Only big thing I could say is not really a problem. It's just it can be stressful for the both of them. Us is the fact of one's a student, another person's not. So if I was a student, I can understand. So it's like there's times where like he has finals and things to work on. There's times when I'm working overnight.
Right.
I can't, like, you know. So it's like
different time worlds. Yeah, different time worlds. And I try to tell students that all the time. Like, yo, man, they're not like y'all. Where you guys, you're like, you know, where your hours are just different, man. Because, you know, and I was trying to say that, I was trying to say that too, where like, you know, Sunday at 12 o'clock for a community like partners meeting is cool with y'all because Sundays is chill. But like the weekend for adults is like, you know, 12 o'clock.
That's grocery shopping, laundry,
you know, yes.
Everything I needed to do throughout the week, plus that.
So that's the tough part, right? Like, where can our time worlds mesh and coincide? You know, so that's a really good point. So that makes it definitely a big challenge. I really appreciate what you've been doing with the Temple students, working with them,
I really
trying to get
them. Being a part of it. Yeah, like, I'm so happy that it's Temple really taking the reins of it, and like for me, it's suffice to be watching for years of how these guys have been growing within like Trinity, just alone me and Trinity, but Temple hip hop by itself growing so much, and then at that campus, how much more they're doing, how much more they're trying to do. It's very inspiring, you know, for us to be in our own areas trying to do as much as we can. I'm gonna get to watch them do as much as they can on campus. You know, it's like
it's never gonna go away. No Temple class want to be the Temple that the festival stopped. I've learned that. So I was like, this never good. They don't want to be like we were the group that the Temple that the festival stopped, right? So no one wants to do that. So this is going to go on forever. I swear to God, we're going to be back here 25 years later. And you're still going to see this generation. You know what I mean? It's just.
I may not still be dancing, but I'll be here anytime you guys need me.
So again, and for some of our listeners who are from Hartford and from the greater Hartford area, New England, Northeast, might have an idea about the dance culture, b-boy, all styles, b-boy culture. Some people don't. Like when I came to Hartford, I was like, what? You know, and I've said this before about how impressed I was with the culture in Hartford. But the b-boy battle for b-girl battle, for folks who don't know, in person, this is the biggest event. This is bigger than the main concert, as far as attendance, as far as, you know, Hartford representation. That's a fact. So this is the biggest event of the festival, and it's the most community attended event of the festival. And that speaks to the culture, dance culture in Hartford. That is the crux behind this festival, why it works. Can you talk about the hip hop dance culture in the city of Hartford, greater Hartford area, and how important it is for propping up the International Hip Hop Festival? Because every year there's going to make sure that there's going to be Hartford, greater Northeast representation at the fest. That's always going to be a staple, and that's through what you do. What you do outside the fest. Let me
intermingle one thing with that as you're talking about that, tying it into what you said before about these community partners going back to New York, Chicago, LA, and stuff like that. What are they saying? Because I'm sure a lot of them never think of Hartford. Before I ever heard of Hartford, I didn't think. And they're like, oh, well, Hartford. So talk about what's going on in Hartford and talk about how you see other people being surprised and starting to learn.
I'm going to tell you my first mentality on why I tried to go so ridiculous with events and try to get everyone a part of it. It's the fact that for me battling for years, it's always been, no matter where I go, it's always been us versus them. No one knows, like, even though we're between Boston, Mass and New York, it's like Connecticut. Ain't that New York? No. Ain't that no? So we have to go as hard as we can. So I would say with our dance scene, what a lot of people don't know is Hartford's had a crazy dance scene, and let alone just for the b-boy community, they have a big part of history here. Like some of the dancers, I didn't even know were even part of like that. I knew they were legends first off, but I had no idea that some of these legendary battles were held right here in Hartford at our Bushnell stage. Things like that you can go to our library and find out. So me knowing that already, I was like, that's got to be a call for something. It's like, how do we have all these different arts and things happening, and the biggest one of our culture, just for the hip hop culture, had a main stage for it to be held. And I'm like, nothing's been done since. So like for us, it was like, that was our main thing. Try to do as much as we can in the scene and try to involve as many people as we can in the scene. And thank God for our dance scene being like that. It's like, once you tell one person, they're going to go back and tell the rest of their friends, and they're going to keep doing that. Just mainly because, one, Connecticut loves the competition. So we're tired of balancing.
Just so people know, when you say our dance team going back, you mean telling people outside of Hartford?
Well, as in first we start off, and of course I don't even consider just Hartford, because like for us, people say Hartford, New Haven are like two different like pinnacle areas for, I would say, Connecticut. It's like we're the capital, they're a little bit farther, but it almost gives it like a different scene for things like let alone just for music. I know it's like how the music scene differs from up here versus New Haven. But when it comes to the dance scene, it's like, nah, everyone wants to be wherever there's dance at in Connecticut. So that means all you got to do is tell someone, not even with a flyer, just word of mouth, guarantee it'll get around.
Yeah, you guys are always road tripping. You guys are always road tripping.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
We took it upon ourselves. Like when we're out, wherever we're out somewhere, like we're always promoting stuff. We're always trying to show up to other people's stuff.
Shout out to Junior too.
Yeah, I felt that was just like
we're gonna have to interview Junior. Junior looks like Poptart's like secret brother, like two different heights, same person, doing positive community hip hop in Massachusetts, like you're doing here. But yeah, like
literally, you see the template. Like me and him have been friends for years, and we both do the same exact things in different areas. So it's like that's mainly. I feel like if you want it, you got to do it. And if I love hip hop that much, then I have to at least be out there in it doing it. So I feel like all the people around me do the same thing. So I keep myself around those type of people, and it's like it just keeps growing, almost like a drop in the water, like a what is that called? A ripple effect. Like it started with other people, and like it's up to us.
Have you noticed anything different from in our community? particularly as you're looking at the youth, right? Like, you're different, but as you're looking at the scene develop over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, have you noticed anything particular to Hartford and Connecticut versus these other places, and where you've been in all these contests?
Oh, yeah. I can say this much, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble for it. I don't care. And that's what B-boys like. But there's a lot of other states stealing stuff from us. Just because we're in between these two states, don't think we're not paying attention. Remember, all your hip hop loving artists come here and give props to us. Peace, Connecticut. That's us. So stop stealing stuff from us.
Stop TikToking. They TikToking. TikToking, stealing dance moves.
Yank dance, all that stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like all these dances, I'm like, yo, those are straight from here. Like these kids made that up. See these kids like down the block doing that.
It's funny, but I think the issue with that is it's like a sense of cultural appropriation where you want people to steal stuff, but you want them to say, I picked this up over here. And it just gets frustrating when people take it and they don't give credit.
Like us. Like anytime we do something or use anything that's not us, we give the correct homage to where we got it from. Like, oh, I learned this, but this is from African dance. Or
right. This is the Nola Bounce. This is the Atlanta Doom. Hartford, yeah.
It's a small thing, but that makes all the difference, right?
That makes a big difference, because why? It keeps history alive for our area. That's another thing. Like, that's what I think is a big part of what's missing from the gap of when we used to have these old battles in Hartford versus all the way to us doing Trinity the years before me even promoting and doing stuff like that. There was a big gap of that missing because people weren't relaying that history. So it's like now we have to. So
I have one last question, just tying in. I want to keep going on that, and then Seth will probably ask you a last question or two. You're also like a dope graph writer. I've had you at different colleges where I've been at come and lecture on the actual traditions and culture of graffiti. You aside from b-boying. Recently I was looking back to Lee Canonas. I'm writing a piece about Lee. I shared it with you. But, Lee had held down this spot on the FDR, which is a handball court. He invented the handball pieces. And Keith Haring was a fan of his. And Lee said, you know what? I'm not going to use this spot. Right. And Keith Haring said, hey, can I use that spot? And Lee said, you could use the spot. And Keith Haring said, well, how do you do handball court? And Lee gave him right. So it was like he did the thing. The other dude said, I want to do that, completely different styles. But like you said, they had that history. They had that connection. What was that like this year from your perspective at the festival being virtual? What do you think we lost by not having in-person conversations between graph artists? And what part do you think is better facilitated through a virtual event for graph artists?
You mean just graph, or just all in all throughout the whole festival, any of the elements?
Just the graph specifically.
Oh, just graph. I mean, I can even tie that into breaking too a little bit. It's just the fact of we lost the in-person aspect of people being able to share back with us, pretty much. Since we're sharing this festival with them, our normal thing was if they're here with us, they can tell us anything going on in their area immediately, right there on the spot. Like, oh, I'm here for the hip hop festival for this, but by the way, next week we got this going on in my area. You guys should all come out here too. Lost that big part of it, of course, and that normal communication. But some people were smart enough to go and post and do things like that. But yeah, I think
and that's a major part of it.
I think that's mainly it. Just the aspect of people feeling the need to share back with the culture, from being in the culture at that moment. Even though they live the culture, it's like being there sitting there in it makes you feel more obligated to share it back.
You're making me think of all the young people who have a limited view of hip hop from TV and video, and then they come to the festival, and those are some of the people. They're not a featured artist. They're not a student at the college. They're a kid from the community that's like, oh. Yep. And then we see them through the year, or they join one of our programs, but they just own Hartford more. They own their environment. They own hip hop in a bigger way. And I know we missed a lot of that, because that's something that we try to break the walls down just across the street.
I'm not trying to be biased, but it's like, when I came in as a faculty advisor and I was looking at the festival and trying to figure out a way of how can I play a role? What am I seeing? Looking at the budgets of students. So what I found was that the festival, up until about going through the 6th, 7th, 1 through 7, it was, in my opinion, it was very rap centric. All the funding went to the main concert. All the funding went to bringing rappers, and leftover funding went for b-boys, graph writers, and everybody, DJs. Like, if we could fit in. So I was like, oh wow, this is a really sort of like one element, and then the other three aren't getting as much love. And so it was like, okay, so let's try to like move more resources around equitably, so we have bigger representation for graffiti, bigger representation for DJing. But when it came to the dance thing, especially, as I kept going, the dance event in person is not only an event in terms of how we're talking about it in the art form of b-boying and b-girling and all styles, but then it's also the place to be, more so than the concert, the main concert. It's fashion day. It's fashion. That's the fashion night on Friday night.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole social thing. It's the main featured battle, and then 50 other cypher b-boy b-girl battles happening. It's something about that Friday night of the festival, because of something about Hartford's love for hip hop dance. What is it about dancing, or the medium of b-girling, b-boying, and all styles, that for me really resonates with Hartford young people more so than I'm seeing with like rap, for example?
Ooh, that's a good one. I feel like, because for me, there's so many amazing rappers and artists out here too. That's the crazy thing. Like some of the levels. Yeah,
and I might not just not know. I feel like I was more exposed to. Yeah.
But like you kind of foster ciphers breaking out. During the cipher.
So much like that. Like I think it's like the love to create in that field of the culture. It pulls people, like it's like it pulls people closer to watching dance, because it's like a physical representation of, even though there's art, like I said, artists and graffiti and all that stuff. It's like, even if you're not a dancer, you're probably more drawn to that side of hip hop to see physical hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like you can go and be like, oh wow, like yeah, this is the stuff I really like. You know, like it's like, and then while you're there, what are you looking for? Other MCs or other graph writers. Everyone, it's almost like a magnet to get everyone there. And on top of that, I noticed too, if the dancers aren't there, then for some reason no one else wants to go. That's another weird thing. Like, that one I can't figure out. It's like an adult, I show up to like support and watch things, and I'm like, am I the only dancer here? So room full of MCs, dope, nasty. Everybody, I'm like, oh, everyone hear this music. I'm like, where in the hell?
I think even MCs who are very stationary don't really attract people to, like, if you're an MC that's just like, my rhymes are the greatest and latest and latest and like, it's not hip hop. You know, that you want the whole, everything we do, whether it's graph, whether it's, the whole thing is that someone's gonna look at it and feel drawn to it, like they have a place in it, right? Yeah. And like, you know, there's been a lot of there have been some moments at, you know, me, like I try to foster this, but during the concerts and doing things where, like, if there's young cats like rapping on the side and in the staircase, I'm like encouraging them, like, but you do that part and parcel. Like anything could be going on in the main cipher, and there'll be cats like breaking and flipping and practicing and band ciphering, and it's like that's the vibe. Yeah. Like that's the vibe, and it's less conducive with MCs, right? It's kind of a thing where, like, hey, they're rapping on the stage right now.
Let's look at the stage. Yeah. Everybody to the stage, right? Yeah, this is a very different structured space for the dance part. And you know what, too? It just popped into my mind, Poptart, was that your event, or the dance our event, but your one that you organized, the dance battle Trinity till Infinity, is the only event that the Trinity president of the college attends it. So the only one she attends, the president of the college, goes to the dance event.
Really?
And it's the dance event where, and it was at that event that she was able to see what we've been trying to talk about what the festival is about: community, about youth, about the celebration of arts, because there's so many things that happen in that space, you know, from, I remember one time, just a little kid coming out there, no shirt on, afro. He was probably 4 years old.
That's one of my favorite moments of the festival.
Moments ever. and then they picked it up and hugged him. And I remember looking at the president, and there's this tear coming down that cheek. Like, I was like, yes. Captured everything that's beautiful about that moment. Yeah. Now, I can never make it to the end. I always enjoy myself, but I can never make it to crowning of the winner. And this is the first time, because it's virtual, I was able to attend the whole of Trinity Infinity till the crowning of the winner.
Was all of us.
Yeah, I've never been able to make it to the end.
I don't know if Poptart.
No, it takes a while.
Correct me if I'm wrong, bro. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you've I know you've physically been in a room, but I'm not sure if you've ever been mentally, spiritually, totally present for the whole infinity, because there's a lot going on. Your mind can likewise for me. There's events that I'm at, I'm only there for half the event mentally because I'm in fixing mode and running around. I think this is the first time a lot of us. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm avoiding. I'm turning my phone on silent. I'm trying to hide from people asking for this, that, and the third. I need a free pass. I need a lunch pass. I get into Mather. I'm like, yo, man, leave me alone.
I spent half the day apologizing to people. They're like, you seem so angry. You have no idea.
Yeah, people up in your grill being like, people in your grill offended in some kind of way by the DJ. It's a hectic thing for organizers, and we got to put on a happy face. We got to close out here. This has been a great conversation. We here with Machinegun Poptart, community organizer, partner, Trinity National Hip Hop Festival, Trinity Infinity Dance Showcase and Battle. Thank you so much, Poptart. What you got going on? You want to say a few last words? What you up to this coming summer? Big plans for the summer at all? What you got going on?
Yes, indeed. Well, we just got a great call recently about, people don't know, 2024 breaking has made it to Olympics. Youth breaking. That means your 13, 14-year-old kid that you think is outside doing these weird dances and spinning on his head and stuff, he can win medals for it now. Understand that. That's sponsorship. That's big stuff for just the youth. Not even my category yet. The kids get that. So that being said, all of us out here in the area are literally just, as soon as everything opens back up, we're going back to training twice as hard. Not for the fact of us maintaining our skill. It's for the fact of the kids coming up underneath us that have this opportunity now. Because this is something I wish I could have achieved or been a part of growing up. Being me in the Olympics, for dance. What
are they going to wear?
Olympics. So right now I'm trying to throw as many events as I can to have, as many more dances as possible. I have a couple events I'm trying to plan that are actually going to help out with us finding more people to possibly represent New England in the Olympics. So we got some time going on. And besides that, we have something bigger coming up. I want to talk about it because I just talked with the guy about it today, but we will have something hopefully out here by next year or so, a big tour for Connecticut that has to do with dance. So of course we'll be bringing some at the Trinity because that's what I need to bring it. And then maybe I'm hoping that maybe we can do a outdoor version of our hip hop festival we just had. I want to do a qualifier on the national stage where I told you that nostalgic stuff used to happen in Connecticut, and then we'll have the finals every year back at the hip hop festival. I think that would be something really cool. So I'm working on that right now.
Yeah, always envisioning, always trying to come up with ways to make the festival different, but still keeping with the principles, and that's what you do. That's what others do. Suffice, you want to close out?
Yeah. Can you give us a shout out to the youth dancers and the Youth for Change showcase? Because I know that was partially side by side with Trinity Till Infinity, but it was partially its own thing. They were killing it. That was one thing that stood out to me online too, because the camera was able to zoom in 860, the junior team, and that whole youth showcase part of the what word would you say to them in terms of I guess that was how the youth part happened. That part we were just talking about, how youth come up and get involved and see that. I thought it was evidence that they've been being proud of Hartford's dancing. You know what I mean? What did you think of them, or what words would you say to them?
More, please, more. Lots more.
I love it. Yo, this is Living Hip Hop Conversations about Hip Hop Education. That was our guest. Really appreciate you, Poptart. We'll talk to you soon, brother.